In the frozen heart of the high Arctic, there is a city that shouldn't exist. Norilsk is one of the most remote and polluted places on Earth. A city built on top of some of the world's largest nickel and palladium deposits. But before it was a city, it was a nightmare. It was Norillag, one of the largest and deadliest camps in the Soviet Gulag system. And in the summer of 1953, the prisoners of Norillag did something that shook the Soviet Union to its core. They rose up and fought back. The uprising began just months after the death of Joseph Stalin. For the thousands of prisoners toiling in the nickel mines, Stalin's death was a flicker of hope. They expected a general amnesty, an end to the brutal conditions, and a chance to go home. But the amnesty only applied to common criminals, not to the politicals, the Ukrainian nationalists, the Baltic resistance fighters, and the thousands of others who were considered enemies of the state. The fuse was lit on May 26, 1953, and when a guard shot a group of prisoners, within hours, the entire camp system was in open rebellion. Thousands of prisoners went on strike. They refused to work. They formed strike committees, and they flew black flags of mourning and protest over their barracks. In one of the most isolated places on Earth, the largest uprising in the history of the Gulag had begun. The prisoners were incredibly organized. They set up their own internal security, their own food distribution, and even their own propaganda department. They didn't want to overthrow the government. They wanted their human rights. They demanded an end to the 12-hour workdays, the removal of the numbers from their uniforms, and the right to write letters to their families. For 69 days, there was a tense standoff between the prisoners and the camp administration. The local officials were terrified. They were cut off from Moscow and didn't know how to handle a mass rebellion in the post-Stalin power vacuum. They tried to negotiate, they tried to intimidate, but the prisoners held firm. They had nothing left to lose. Finally, the Kremlin had enough. They sent in thousands of elite NKVD troops, supported by tanks and machine guns. The suppression was brutal. The troops stormed the camp zones, firing indiscriminately into the crowds of prisoners. Hundreds were killed, and thousands more were wounded. The uprising was crushed in a massacre. But the Norilsk Uprising was not a failure. It showed the Soviet leadership that the Gulag system was no longer sustainable. It proved that even the most oppressed people could organize and fight back. Within a few years, the majority of the political prisoners were released, and the Gulag system began to be dismantled. Today, Norilsk is a major industrial city. But the memory of the uprising and the men who died there is still alive. It's a city built on a foundation of suffering, a place where the ghosts of the past are never far from the surface. But while some prisoners were fighting for their lives in the Arctic, others were being used as test subjects in a place so secret and so dangerous. It was called Rebirth Island. In our next video, we're going to the Aral Sea to see the most terrifying laboratory in the world, the story of the Soviet bioweapons testing ground.